I have worked with accounting, auditing, business controlling, and I'd say that there are 3 functions that are so much better to know than all the others combined. I use these 3 all the time, and there are hundreds of different functions within Excel, and you use the other ones so little and these 3 so much. The first function I want to show you is a very basic if function. And what it does is that it performs a test, a logical test, and it evaluates a condition. And if it's true, one value will be returned. And if it's false, another value will be returned. And the syntax is first your logical test. Then the next argument is what should be returned if it's true. And then the last argument, what should happen if it's false. A quick example is, let's say you make an if function to test if this cell here is equal to Mexico. And we do that in quotation marks because it's text. If that is true, we want to get the currency from this sheet here, and we take this one. If it's false, third argument, we just make 2 quotation marks because then it will return an empty value. We close the if function, press enter. That means that it evaluates if this cell is Mexico. Before we fill this one down, we make sure that the reference to the Mexican currency is an absolute reference, and then we fill it down. And you'll see that all the rows with Mexico will now have the currency. In this case, the if function is not the best function that you can use, but this is just an example of how it works. The next function that I use all the time is the SUMIFS function, and it sums cells that meet one or multiple criteria. The syntax is that first you select what should be summed, then you select the criteria range, and then your criteria. Let's say you want to sum the units for all these strawberries. You could use the SUMIFS function. The sum range will be the units. If the data is structured like this, it's easier to select the entire column. Otherwise, you could just select the range and make the reference absolute if you want to fill it downwards. But you need to make sure that the sum range and the criteria range are the same length. Then we go to the second argument, and here are our criteria range. That means this with all the berries, and then we could either make a cell reference to where it says strawberry or write in quotation marks strawberry. And these 2 arguments, the criteria range and the criteria, you could do as many times as you want. In this case, we just want to sum the strawberry, but we could also sum, for example, a country if we wanted to. Let's close this function and press enter. And here we get the value if we were to sum all the units for strawberry. It combines the concept of sum and if and makes almost the perfect function for all of those who work with data. And then we have my favorite function, the XLOOKUP function, which is available in all the newer Excel versions. And it lets you to search an array or a range and then return the item corresponding to the first match that it finds. This is the function that we would use if we wanted to get the currency for the countries that's in the C column. The syntax for the function is 6 different arguments. The 3 first are mandatory and the 3 last are optional. The first one is the lookup value, the value that you want to find in an array or a range. And then you have your return array. And the length of the return array and the lookup array should be the same. And these 3 are mandatory in order for the function to work. And then the optional 4th argument is an built-in if error. What should happen if you do not find the lookup value in the lookup array? What should happen then? Then you have an optional match mode and an optional search mode. Those are not as frequently used, but for example, you could find the next biggest item if you search for 100 And if it can't find 100, it will try to search for the next biggest item after 100, or the search mode could be that you go from the bottom to the top or from right to left. Instead, the default, that's from top to bottom and left to right. Let's try it out. We write XLOOKUP. Our lookup array will be our country, and our second argument will be our lookup array. This could either be the range here or the entire column if it's structured like this. The return array should be our currency. If we end this function, we will get the currency for all the countries. If you extract data from a source, for example, the bank, your accounting system, and you already have an Excel file with all the different items, then you could easily get the values from the bank file or the accounting system into your Excel file by matching on, for example, the account number or anything else that has the corresponding items in both. These three functions are definitely the most valuable one when you work with data. If you have any questions, just ask them down below. And if you want to learn even more in Excel, get all the tips and tricks, then you subscribe to this channel. Thank you.